We're going to take a look at some accessibility options now, and when you hear the term accessibility options, think of those who have special needs. The visually impaired, the hearing impaired, those who have manual dexterity issues, those are all covered under ease of access in the control panel. So let's open the control panel here, and I'm going to go down to ease of access. This is where accessibility is. Now there's a lot in here, so we will not be able to cover everything, but let's take a look at some of the options we have. First, we have speech recognition. Of course, if you want the microphone to be able to give commands to the computer or type for you, that's under speech recognition. The other part here is ease of access center. If I open ease of access center, the big four are always here. The magnifier, which just puts a magnifying glass on the cursor that you can move around the screen to make something bigger. The on-screen keyboard, so that you can type with the mouse. The narrator, which will read to you whatever's on the screen. If I click this right now, you'll probably hear it.
Narrator dialog. OK. Button. Alt plus O. Heads up. Narrator keyboard changes. We've updated the narrator keyboard layout so it more closely matches the experience you exiting narrator.
Okay, let's turn that off. High contrast. Some people who are visually impaired, it helps to have this high contrast black and white, white on black screen. Now we have several things down here that we can change. Let's just take a look at a few of those. Let's see, use the computer without a display. So if I don't have a display, I can have the narrator on, I can have audio descriptions on some videos, turn off unnecessary animations, and so on. Let's take a look down here at make the computer easier to see. So here I've got the high contrast, the narrator again. You notice that there's a lot of redundancy in these things, the magnifier again. I wanted to take a look down here at make the keyboard easier to use. This has some interesting ones. Sticky keys. So for example, I had an uncle who had a buzzsaw accident when he was younger, and so he only had one arm. And sticky keys would have helped him. He passed away before the computer era got too far along, but here instead of, for example, Control-Alt-Delete, well, if you only have one hand, that's difficult to type. So here you can just hit the Control button and then the Alt button and then the Delete button and set off the Control-Alt-Delete sequence. Toggle keys. So for example, when I turn on Caps Lock, Num Lock, Scroll Lock, I can hear a tone. And then the filter keys. This is actually a holdover from a long time ago. We used to have problems with keyboards doing something we would call keyboard bounce. In old keyboards, sometimes the contact would click twice when you'd push a key, and so you get a double letter. Well, you could slow that down turning off this keyboard bounce. Well, this does something similar, so those who type too fast or too slow won't have problems with the keys being misunderstood as they click them. Let's take a look at this mouse thing, make the mouse easier to use. Here I can change from a white to a black theme for the cursor, or the way that the cursor inverts when it's over dark and light colors. I can also turn on mouse keys, use a numeric keypad to move the mouse around the screen. So if my mouse quits on me, or I can't use a mouse because I'm using, say, a stick in my mouth in order to be able to move things around the keyboard, I could do that easily here. Activate a window by hovering over it with the mouse. Now it would drive me crazy, but for people who need that, it's right there available for them. But one thing that you don't see here, actually a couple things that you don't see here, there are some options in the cursor. Now I don't remember if I have this on in my video so that you can see my big red pointer on the screen, but that is a function of ease of access, but it is not here in the control panel. As a matter of fact, there is an ease of access over here in the settings app, and here it is, ease of access. If I click that, you'll see that I have something over here on the left called mouse pointer. If I click mouse pointer, you can see now that I can change the color of the mouse, or the cursor, the size of that cursor. If I need a great big one, I can do that. If you want to see an example of that, look up my YouTube series on subnetting. And in some of those videos, I have a great big cursor like this so that you can see it move around more easily. I can also change the text cursor. So for example, here I've got this kind of purplish looking bars here so that you can easily see where I'm putting my insertion point. So these are under ease of access, but not in the control panel, but over in the settings app. One other thing I want to point out that's in the control panel, or excuse me, the settings app, but not the control panel, is under display. I can make everything on my screen bigger. I've had some visually impaired students who have to get way up on the screen practically with their nose touching the screen to read things. Well, this makes everything bigger so that it's a little easier for some people who have visual impairments to be able to see the screen more easily. So just be aware of those things that are on the control panel and those that are not on the control panel but the ease of access on the settings app. And then a few more things can display settings and personalization settings might also be under those items here, personalization and let me go back here, personalization and display settings that are not under ease of access control, and those may also be helpful for people who have visual or hearing impairments.